Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning. Today we have a really special guest, Sabrina, Strawn with the Alzheimer's Association. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. And so we're going to talk about a few things, that's going on with y'all. I'm assuming that you're going to be opening back up pretty soon.
We are indeed. We have continued to provide services all throughout the pandemic, moving them to virtually. We are, as you can tell, as you might be able to guess, all staff went home and provided services from home, but we are returning to the office June 15th. All of the Alzheimer's Association chapter offices will be fully open to the public as of the beginning of August.
That's great. I know a lot of people want to get back to normal.
For sure.
Definitely. So what's happening? What's coming up?
Well, June is a really important month for us. June is the Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. So we ask everybody to, do the hashtag Go Purple in support of more than the 6 million Americans who are living with Alzheimer's. And you can also use the hashtag EndAlz if you like. The longest day is the day with the most light. It's the summer solstice. And on June 20th, people from all across the world will fight the darkness that's Alzheimer's through a fundraising activity of their own choice. So if people would like to learn more about that, they can just type in Alzheimer's, the longest day into any browser, and all sorts of ideas will pop up. People are doing things such as holding mystery parties, committing to exercise for 12 hours nonstop. I've heard of people putting in gardens. I know what I did for the longest day last year was pledge to do 1,000 miles on my Peloton in a month, which I'm happy to say I did, and raised a fair amount of money from friends and family, because really almost everybody I know has been touched in some way with Alzheimer's or another dementia. So that's one really important thing going on in June. Another is our Caregiver Conference, which is June 23rd. We call it Living in a Hybrid World, because as we return to in-person, we're not going to be losing the lessons that we've learned all this time when we were providing services virtually. It's going to start at 10 o'clock and it's going to go through 1. We're going to start with a education session called Dementia Conversations. And a lot of times people really struggle if they start to see, mom, dad, brother starting to have some issues, but they don't know how to bring up difficult conversations, which I'm sure you've heard about this a lot. When and how do you bring up the thought of, Dad, I think you really need to go to the doctor and have this checked out. Or, we went to the doctor and we found out that we're on this journey. It's time to stop driving. How to bring that up and how to deal with it successfully. And another really important thing, as you very well know, is how do we get our legal and financial ducks in a row?
Absolutely.
So all 3 of those topics are going to be covered in that first session. Then we're going to hear from some of our partner organizations on how they are starting to move into returning to in-person events. For example, Care Partners will be doing a presentation on how they're going to be transitioning back to the in-person respite services that they provide at churches throughout our community. And then after that, we're going to hear from Senior Planet and Bridging Apps, which is a part of Easter Seals, to talk about digital access. So Bridging Apps is developing a program. They've been working on how to help people prepare for telehealth visits. Those have become more and more common, where you visit the doctor virtually. And I think as we move to in-person, I think we'll continue to have telehealth visits. If you live way out in a rural area and need to see a dementia specialist, you might be able to do that virtually through telehealth. So Bridging Apps has a whole program, has a whole education series on how do you get ready for that. And then Senior Planet has several programs on how do we use virtual tools to become more socially active, which is another thing we want to do for brain health as we get older. It may be harder to get out of the house. You don't want to drive at night. You're not real comfortable with the computer. Senior Planet helps people with that. So we're very happy about that conference coming up. Again, it's June 23rd. And I believe that we could drop the joining information, not the joining information, but the registration information in the chat here. And that's something we really would encourage people to come. It's going to be virtual. So you can be in your pajamas on June 23rd from 10 to 1 and join us for the Caregiver Conference, Living in a Hybrid World.
Awesome. So it sounds like you've got a whole lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah, we sure do. We've been staying busy.
So, during all this time, with the whole world changing and then kind of, I guess you could say going back to what we call normal, what have you learned about access to resources?
Well, the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. One of the things that we learned is we can still do that virtually, a lot of that. All of it continued during the pandemic. Very quickly, we put out a call, and we've been supporting research on the effects of COVID on the population we serve. And we've already found out that people with dementia are indeed at higher risk for COVID. We have learned that the association, our chapter, and our partners can change very quickly to make sure we continue to provide help. Within days of moving operations from our offices to our homes, we had our first Zoom class for Harris County Sheriff's deputies on how to deal with people with dementia. As you heard earlier, partner organizations moved to provide services through drive-bys, driveway moments, virtual classes, phone check-ins, and we'll be hearing a little bit more about what we've learned about virtual services. But we've also learned some things that we want to carry forward. So as we look at how we want to improve resources, as we move back to the hybrid world, we're carrying forward a lot of lessons.
So what kind of changes do you see happening, going from in-person everything to virtual to, will it be a hybrid type process of in-person stuff and is virtual as well?
Yes, indeed. We simply put, we have found out that we have a new way to reach people and provide the services that we already offer. And in addition, we're going to continue to work tirelessly to reach people who have had limited access, whether it was limited access to in-person services earlier or limited access to the virtual services. The reasons for those limited access can vary. A lot of times it's because of socioeconomic factors or lack of trust or transportation issues. So we're really going to be working hard to reach people who have had difficulty in accessing services. And frankly, and you've probably been in this situation yourself, the hardest thing to hear is, I wish I had known. Yes. I wish I had known about your services when we went through this with mom or with dad or with my sister. And so right now, we want as many people as possible to know about the services that are available and frankly are essential when you're going through this journey.
So we're seeing, more and more people being, diagnosed in my elder law practice with Alzheimer's and various forms of dementia, Parkinson's, you know, those types of, you know, related illnesses that seem to be, I tell clients it's because we're living longer. You know, I think, you know, because back in the day, people didn't live this long. So we're seeing things that, you know, God hopefully didn't, you know, didn't have a long time ago. But just for, you know, because we're talking about resources, how does someone find out about what resources are available through y'all?
Yeah, that's a great question. And indeed, we're seeing more of this because people live longer. The greatest risk factor for Alzheimer's disease is age. There are other risk factors. We also know a lot more about these diseases, Alzheimer's and related dementias. So we have a tremendous amount of resources. We can provide the most access through a number of different conduits. We have a 24/7 helpline, 800-272-3900, that you can use for anything. I've heard of high school students calling because they're stuck on a research paper, but more often it has been caregivers calling us at 2 a.m. saying, my husband is convinced there's somebody outside the door and I can't get him to bed. I can't calm him down. Or someone calling to say, I've just been diagnosed. What are some things that I can do? So that 24/7 helpline is for anybody who's comfortable picking up a phone and talking. We have master's level people who are trained to answer these sorts of questions. Quite often they can refer you to sources right there, they refer you back to your local chapter. Not everybody is comfortable with the phone. I remember when my kids were younger, they're now up and out of the home, but if somebody called, I'd say, hey, phone call for you, they'd like run out of the room. So I know I think that may be a generational thing, but there's some people who just really don't want to talk on the phone. They would rather sit in front of a keyboard. Yeah. So we have our alc.org website that has much of the same information that's available. You may have to hunt around a little bit harder on your own, but some people like that. There are also a number of tools, so you can fill out questionnaires, we have allsnavigator.org. So same sort of thing, the scenarios that I said, you know, I've just been diagnosed, or I heard from the doctor that my dad shouldn't be driving. You could go through allsnavigator.org and it can send you to resources. There's also our message board, allsconnected.org. So if you're not able to make it to a support group, something in person that we also provide by phone now, you can go on the message board and you could be talking with somebody at 2 a.m. and they could be halfway across the country, talking virtually talking through your keyboard. As we mentioned, we've started providing support groups and community education in person, but we're going to continue to do the same virtually for those who don't want to leave home or can't leave home, or for whom an in-person event is just too far.
So awesome. So it sounds like a whole lot of fun stuff coming up. And so, Sabrina, is there a phone number where someone can reach you?
I can be reached through that 800 number. You could call that 800-272-3900. And if it's something that is that I specifically can handle, it will get to me. And you have my email up on the screen now. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. We also have, of course, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and our website. So all of those things are available.
All right, awesome. So, all right. Well, I wish you the best luck on the longest day, and hopefully you have a lot of fun. And we look forward to hopefully seeing lots of people at the Caregiver Conference. And it's been a pleasure today. So I appreciate you being on the show.
Well, we sure do appreciate your support and your help in getting the word out, because we all want to do the best for our seniors.
Absolutely.
And the family who care for them.
Even more. Yeah, most definitely.
All righty. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.